the new WCEG network. We are on WCEGtalkradio.com. You can click on go to there, click on the live screen and watch us on your smart tube or on your laptop or on your TV. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. My name is Herman Anderson. I'm one of the co-hosts. Anthony Aiken is my co-host, other co-host. And after I finish giving you all of our listening and instruction on how you can listen to us, we will introduce our guests. As I say, you can watch us on WCEG Talk Radio, WCEG Network, WCEGTalkradio.com. We are on YouTube. Subscribe for that. You can watch us you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. And let me also give you this disclaimer. The topics and opinion of those of the show and host guests are not WCEG networks. So we thank you for watching and listening today, and we will move on from that. We will have Anthony, then we will introduce our guest today.
Well, good afternoon there, guest, and all the listeners out there in our radio land. We want to say thank you for taking the time to come back with us as we put together a show of good information to share with veterans around the United States. As Herman stated, we try to do our very best every week. So we're glad you're with us. And Herman, why don't you just go on and introduce our guests and let's move forward.
Okay, our guest is Mrs. Tamara Wilson, Executive Director and County Veteran Service Officer of local government agency in Lima, Ohio. She has been employed with the agency for a total of 25 years. She started as a veteran service officer and investigator. She was promoted to her current position after working there 16 years. She is the first African American to hold either position within that agency, as well as the first female to obtain the accreditation to work as a county veteran service officer. Tamara has multiple accreditation and certification with Veteran Service Organization. She is also accredited with the Ohio Department of Veteran Services, as well as the National Association of County Veteran Services. Tamara? Okay, I'll make sure I get it right. Holds BBA and MBA. She's a disabled veteran who served in the United States Army from 1993 to 1996. She was stationed at Fort Devens, Massachusetts before base closed in 1997. I introduce to you, Ms. Wilson.
That's awesome, Ms. Wilson. Thank you very much for being on with us. And I got to say, hooah!
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you're in the great state of Ohio, Lima, Ohio. So we want to thank you, Lima. We want to thank you from the ATL, as we call ourselves. And why don't you tell us in a little nutshell what you do for veterans, and then we can move forward.
Okay, as a county veteran service officer, what I do is I assist veterans here in my county with filing, and I can assist anybody, but we have an office like mine in each county in the state of Ohio. So I normally get people from my county. Sometimes we get them from other places, but we assist veterans in filing claims with the VA. We assist with a lot, but we assist them with filing those VA claims, filing for any VA benefits, healthcare, housing, anything they need, we help with. That's what we do. We help with everything. It's a Veteran Service Commission office.
I'm sorry. Are you the only one in there?
Yeah.
No, I'm the director, but everybody. Actually, there's 4 of us. Three of us are veterans. Normally, we hire veterans. I have another service officer and I have a benefits assistant that work in here, and we all work together to try to help the veteran get their benefits and any additional things that they may be entitled to. County benefits, state benefits, federal benefits.
That's what I wanted to ask you is that now we are worldwide, so we have people listening to this program in different states and overseas, and the conversation that we've had. I'm in Georgia and you in Ohio, and I found out that different states, Department of Veteran Services have different structure. So as much as you would like to just kind of give us an overview of the way Ohio is structured, and because I think it's one of the better ones, and so.
Well, thank you. Ohio is unique. I don't know how many other states are set up like Ohio's, but I don't think there's very many other states set up like the state of Ohio. But in the state of Ohio, we have a county veteran service commission in each county in the state of Ohio. There's 88 counties. There's an office like the office I work in each county. And this came about in the late 1800s. The state of Ohio, they implemented the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act. That's what it was called. And it later changed to Veteran Service Commission. And we were put in place to help those veterans that were coming back from war, who had lost a limb or lost limbs and were unable to come back and work and support their families, or the widows that were left without their spouses. So we were put in place to help them financially initially, and we still do that. We still help veterans and their dependents with. We help with food. We help with utilities. We help pay mortgages and rents. We provide transportation to and from the VA hospital. And there's the list goes on as to some of the things we do. It was later that we started assisting with filing VA claims, which that has actually become one of the main focal points, but we never lose sight of why we were initially implemented, and that was to financially help our veterans. So a veteran comes to our office for example, they might show up in our office saying, I need help with my rent. After sitting and talking to that veteran, we may see that actually this veteran, he or she may need help with their rent, but they also may need to file a claim because they might be showing signs of some symptoms from some things, such as maybe, for example, PTSD or something. Or they may say something, they may talk about, well, ever since I hurt my back in the military, I've been unable to, secure a job that can pay me enough to do what I need to do or whatever. So then what we do, we start talking to them about filing a claim. Let's get you with one of our service officers. And so not only do that veteran leave with, applying for some assistance that's going to help them temporarily, some emergency financial assistance that can help them temporarily, but also they're leaving with filing a claim that may get them some long-term benefits. So that's what we do. How we're funded by county property taxes. So each county may receive a different amount of money each year. And the county commissioners oversee that, but the law says that they have to give each county 0.5 millage of the property taxes that they collect from the prior year. And we have a board. We have a board of 5 members. Each board member represents an organization. So right now, a veteran service organization. So right now we have a VFW representative, American Legion, AMVETS, DAV, and VVA member. And they have 5-year terms that the common pleas judge appoints them to that position. And they oversee the budget and they oversee me. They're my bosses since I'm the director. Yeah, that's how we work. Okay. By law, the county commissioners have to give us this money. Our board decides what we do with the money and how we do it.
That's just actually awesome that you have that capability and the funding to assist families in time of need. That's tremendous. I mean, I'm just sending you nothing but compliments on that. Do you happen to have a large veteran population there in Lima and the surrounding area?
So in my county, of course, there's larger counties, but in my county is considered a medium to small county. When I first started this a long time ago, we had probably about 11,000 veterans in my county. Now, a lot of the World War II veterans, Korean War, a lot of veterans have passed on, and without people moving back to the county, we now have about, I would say, about 85 to 8,900 veterans. So yeah, I have a staff of 4, and we service about 8,900 veterans.
That is great, and like I say, I'm very impressed with the way Ohio is organized, and I think that helps veterans and their families quite a bit compared. And other states are different, so that is good. So and we'll move on to one of the subjects that the VA is putting a lot of emphasis on at this time is MST. So feel free to tell us how you and your office are approaching this.
Okay, so MST stands for military sexual trauma. And the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, I would say we've seen an increase in our office and claims being filed for military sexual trauma. There's a lot more that probably should be filed, but we have seen an increase since lately. As of late, the VA they're talking about it and starting to address it more. In the past, military sexual trauma wasn't talked about as much because people weren't reporting it. And I just think the VA didn't know how to handle or deal with it in the past. But men and women both suffer or could suffer from military sexual trauma. We probably get more female clients filing for it than men, but we do have men. And a lot of the reason why we don't have as many claims with it is just because people, embarrassment, especially with men, but even women. Sometimes we, as veterans, just don't even realize that whatever we encounter could be considered military sexual trauma. So a lot of times when I get a client that comes in and they start talking, it's about interviewing and having those skills to be able to recognize and listen. So you're asking them what's going on. And so one thing that, I try to ask them is when they're wanting to file, I might say, while you were in, did you have any issues with military sexual trauma? Sometimes you just have to point blank ask. And because a lot of people, again, they aren't going to say it because they don't want to admit it, or they just don't think that what happened to them might fall under that. And what military sexual trauma is sexual assault or continuous harassment by a service member or, while in the service. And so a lot of people think that whatever may have happened, it may be their fault or they caused it. Or, because of retaliation while they were in, they just kind of carry that with them when they get out. So a lot of things go unreported when they're in. An example would be leadership. And this is just an example. A lot of times if someone superior is sexually harassing them or harassing them or even sexually assaults them, they're left when they're as a military person, something like that happens. Most times you don't know where to turn because that was your leader. That's your leadership. And so if someone that's your leader, someone that you look up to, that you respect, that the one person that you should be reporting to, if this happens, has done it, then you're left with nowhere to turn. And most times you already know that the other leadership, they're going to have their backs. So a lot of times things like that go unreported because of that. And then a lot of times when it is reported, it's kind of swept under the rug, or the victim is made to feel as if something was wrong with them. They did something wrong. Maybe they changed their assignment, send them somewhere else, whatever. So people don't want to go through that. And so those things go unreported. The thing about it is people have to keep in mind, it doesn't matter how long it's been. It could be, you could have served during the Vietnam era. If you feel that you were a victim of military sexual trauma, you should be filing a claim, and you can. But here's the thing, you can not just file a claim just because you want to file a claim if you have any disabilities related to that. So that's the tough part. So in most times, if you've experienced some type of trauma like that, you're probably going to have some issues. It could be post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be just depression. It could be anxiety. Depression or anxiety could be symptoms of the post-traumatic stress disorder, or you could just literally suffer from depression, period, from something like that. It could be all kinds of issues.
Let me ask you, in today's environment, and there publicly anyway, the VA is putting more emphasis on listening to it. Do you see more people coming in, more people interested in more veteran interested in dealing with it?
Yes, especially since it's being talked about more, and like publicized more, a little more. I'm not getting an influx of people, but you get more people. And the more we talk about it, the more we put it out there, the more it gives people probably even the courage to say, you know what, that's me. Because a lot of times what happens is those people leave the military, and because of that trauma, they then leave, and the trauma is the trauma. And not to say it's the same as experiencing some type of war trauma, but post-traumatic stress disorder is just one of the things that you could be diagnosed with, but it's post-traumatic stress disorder is post-traumatic stress disorder. So a lot of times they leave there and they're having nightmares, and they're having issues, and they've developed a substance abuse issue or something like that, and only to cover the pain or whatever they may experience. They may, they can't work well with people. They have trust issues within their own relationships and problems with their families. Same issues that somebody that might have been in the middle of a war zone may experience. So, but they think, well, I wasn't at war. I wasn't watching people get blown up, so that's not me. But as we talk about it, they're seeing it, gosh, but I got some of those same symptoms. So now they might say, you know what, that's something I might want to look into. And
let me ask you a question about that, because I have a veteran service organization that I started 9 years ago, and we focus on claims, and we just had a meeting last night, and like you're saying, there are different. There's PTSD, there's MST, there's TIB. There's a lot of what we see veterans doing is putting them all in the same pot, which they are not. And how do you discuss with veterans to keep them in different lanes, and also that helps you come up with the way to show that they're service connected?
Okay, put the different disabilities in different lanes?
Yes. So if you're talking about MST or depression, TIB, you when you go to QTC, you're prepared to talk about that item, and also it helps the claim officer in writing it up.
Okay, so again, MST isn't a disability. It's the trauma. So in order to, so MST would be the connector, that's trauma that caused the disability. So let's say a medical professional diagnoses someone with post-traumatic stress disorder due to military sexual trauma. But that person also could have PTSD, could have had some trauma from something else as well, like maybe being in war, or, maybe they, whatever the case may be, something happened. So what you got to do is make sure you have medical. You got to have good medical. One thing about an initial PTSD claim has to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And so, and that's the other hard part. You got to make sure you have good medical. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but you got to make sure whatever conditions you have, you've got to have that diagnosis you need a diagnosis from the doctor. You need a nexus. You need that doctor to write you a nexus letter. That's very, very important. If you can get that. If you can't get that, don't let it hold you up. But if you can get that, and what that nexus letter is, it's like that Band-Aid, that connector, where the doctor is saying, yes, this person is diagnosed with this, and it's in my medical opinion that this condition was caused by this that happened to them in their military service based on me viewing their records and the information that I was given. They need to be able to say that they were able to access, or you gave them your military records to look at. And
that's exactly what I was asking.
Okay. So yes, you need that. With MST, what becomes a little difficult is the VA's looking for, and I'm losing the word but you have to have those markers. They're looking for markers. So if you were raped in the military, but you didn't go to the hospital, or you might not have, most people don't report it. They don't report those things because of embarrassment, retaliation. It may ruin their career, all kinds of stuff. So, their own safety, they just don't report it. And so they think, okay, the main thing is if they had a report, a police report, a medical report or something, that's awesome, but that's rare. So if they don't have that, then the VA looks for markers. So what they may look at, they're looking at time frames. You might say it happened July of 85. I was stationed at this place at this time. I was in this unit. You got to give them as much information as possible. And what they're going to look at is what kind of, so first of all, they're looking at different things. Okay, well, this part is true. They were there at that time. Maybe the person that was in the military was there at that time. That person might have even been their superior. They verify that. Then they look for whether or not the person, maybe their behavior changed. Maybe they were a good soldier. Yeah. With good accolades and all these good things happening for them. And then once they look at them from that time that the incident happened, further, they see that maybe there's a decline. Maybe they start having behavioral issues. Maybe things start happening to them that changed from that time. So those are markers that they look at. Maybe they started, maybe they could say, well, I didn't tell them what happened per se, but I went to the medical facility for some help with some things, or I went and seen somebody for mental health, or I went and talked to the chaplain or something. So they have access to records to look for that. They may not always have it, but they do. And you want to help them out as much as possible with that. If you were a career soldier and all of a sudden you got out, like, what made you get? That's a marker. Like this person had been in 13 years, good soldier, things were going in. All of a sudden they got out. Those are signs. So you want to make sure. The thing is, once you're out in the military, you're like a number. So when you file a claim, you have to tell your story because the VA don't know your story. So always good to tell them your story. You have to make them see you as a real person instead of, it's easy to say, well, they have a job to do, but this is for you. So you have to help them do their job sometime.
Herman, we got to sign her up. You know what I mean? She got to be one of the co-hosts on the show, because I tell you, everything you've just mentioned, Herman and I have been pushing and reiterating, because we view the female in the military as a very, very valuable person,
Right.
that have brought so much to the table. I know, as an executive officer and a battalion commander, you see all of the paperwork on the boards,
Yes.
sex prevention, all of that stuff. That's paper.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the culture from the command down.
Yes.
So if the command truly believes in protecting the females in that unit, it will flow down like water.
Yes.
If the commander is just there as a paper pusher, and we got it on the wall, sexual harassment, racial sensitivity training, all that looks good for the CIG inspection.
Mm-hmm.
For the command inspection group coming down, he got everything on the wall. She got everything on the wall. But if that young soldier, female, has been abused and feels scared, not only to speak to the command group, but the senior enlisted that she has to go through. If that sergeant major or those first sergeants are the ones committing the acts, she's lost, or he's lost.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I've been sexually, what's the word? There's so many different levels of it, but
Assault, harassed,
but with the unknown phone call coming to you as the executive officer saying that I have this desire, this kind of thing in my mind about you, and how do you that's a sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
But as a XO and a commander, how do you handle that coming from the top down? So now do you become that evil spirit to say, okay, I got that call, so I'm going to burn everybody below? No, you have to really, really sit back and think about, how can I get this information out that is not going to be tolerated, not only at my level, but throughout the entire unit. And if it continues, then you get rid of that individual that you suspect that's causing that culture to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't go away. Here it is. That happened to me in 1987, and I still remember it in 2021. You see what I'm saying?
You want to file a claim?
No.
No,
Nope, I handled it.
That is great. With that, let's take a quick break, Anthony, and let the listeners know you're listening to WCEG Talk Radio. We are your worldwide community empowerment group, and we are being televised and streamed worldwide. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can listen to us at WCEG Talk Radio, WCEGTalkRadio.com, and we are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And if you are on one of YouTube or Facebook and you would like to put a question in the chat box, please do so, and we will respond to it.
I want to finish that thought before you took the break. I handled it.
Okay.
And it's very, very important that it was handled right away.
Yes.
Because if it's not handled right away, that particular act continue to proliferate in your unit and can become cancerous.
Yes.
To the point that it becomes non-functional, and then you're not going to be unit ready. Because everything we do in the military is about unit cohesiveness and being unit ready. So I was so glad to hear you talk about, it's a trauma, not a disability, but it's a trauma that's going to linger for a long time if that male or female doesn't seek the help or support that he or she needs to get past that.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a follow-up question on veteran, somebody that's out and been out uh, 10 years and they decided uh, finally they would like to address the issue.
Mhm.
Uh, is it, I know in some situations, we encourage people to do buddy letters, look up someone that you spoke with, someone that might be able to support you in that way.
That
Does that apply to this also?
absolutely. If you give it, can I share something with you?
Sure.
So, me, and this is why this is so near and dear to me because I was a victim of military sexual trauma, and it was my AIT instructor, and so it was nothing I ever reported. I actually blame myself because I thought since I went along with him. Like, I mean, I didn't, it was my instructor. After we finished AIT, he chose a group of people to stay by and work to put together, before we went to our duty stations, to put together promotion packets. So I was chosen to be a part of this group. Now, the whole time I was in AIT, and I've always been considered to be a pretty bright person. He made me feel like I was the dumbest person that ever walked the face of the earth. All during AIT, I thought this man hated me. I mean, any little thing, he embarrassed me, call me out, tell me how bad my uniform looked, how my answers were dumb, just everything. And he was a smooth talker, smooth person. And the guys and the females, they all just thought he was the coolest dude ever. Well, I wanted to think that, but he was always so nasty to me. So, let's say we go on break, we take a latrine break, a bathroom break. He leaning against the wall. He got a crowd around him. The students laughing and talking to him. I stayed away because he don't like me. Well, on that last day, graduation day, is when he told us who was chosen to be a part of this special group. I just knew I wasn't a part of it because he was never going to choose me. Well, I was chosen. And so was this girl that I had become really good friends with. Her and I, we were like best buddies. He even had the opportunity to assign us our roommates, and she and I, how lucky is that? We got to be roommates. The day everybody else shipped out, we moved into permanent party barracks to our rooms. And probably about 6 or 7 o'clock that evening, there's a knock on the door. It's him with a case of beer. And he ends up telling me, he told me that, so I thought, I'm looking like, I mean, this is our instructor, Sergeant such and such. And it's like, I'm nervous, like, oh my God, he's at the door. Cause I'm 19 years old. It's like any kid looking up to their teacher. So he knocks on the door with his beer and he goes, he's like, what's up? He came to party. So I'm like, are you wanting my roommate? Cause you don't like me. That's how I'm thinking. He said, no, I came for you. And he told me that I did really bad during that whole AIT program, that course, that class, that he fixed my scores. Wow. That I would have never made it. I would be out processing instead of being in this special group had he not done that for me, because I didn't actually pass the test. That's what he told me. Easy class, easy test, I'll be honest. But I mean, that's what he told me. So I'm like, oh, and basically I owed him. That's how he came at me. I'm young. My roommate's young. So, okay, he brought us beer. We're going to drink then. He would come to my room every day, every evening. We drinking and he buying us food. And so we're young, and now it's cool. This is him. I remember one night he was in my room and a fire alarm went off. And mind you, everybody that was in that little hallway were all people that were part of his group that had been held over to be on this promotion board packet thing that we were doing. And he was over that. It was a fire alarm. We all had to go out. And I remember all the people, like they're all looking like, what's he doing coming out your room? And we all had to go line up because we we were still kind of like under, not actual permanent party yet. So we all had to go line up together and all that. He called me out the line while he leaned on his car with me sitting with him. And I was so embarrassed because now my peers see this, and this is a married man. And these other people in leadership are out there and they see it and they're giving him, like, telling him how cool he was and how he's the man. So who was I going to tell?
Understand. Totally understand.
So that's how we end up in those situations.
Yeah, that's the power. That's the power that they exhibit and utilize over young females to the point that they feel obligated.
Yes.
And the obligation turns to non-compliance of telling the story.
Yes.
And just because it happened to you, Ms. Wilson, it has happened to many, 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 many others.
Many people.
You were just one.
And it wasn't good. And it ended up happening. And again, all those times he was really hanging out, but he was trying his best to touch and do all this stuff. My roommate was always around. One particular night, he invited my roommate and I to one of his buddies' rooms, who was permanent party, that was a higher ranking soldier that we didn't even realize lived in those barracks. So he lived on a higher floor. We went to his room. They gave us alcohol. This time it wasn't just beer, it was hard liquor. But now his friend is with my roommate.
Yes.
So he's over there all over her. The instructor then gets me to go back to my room. I'm drunk as ever, but I knew, like, I shouldn't be going. It never went that far with, he might have been doing all kinds of things that were wrong, but it never went that far. That particular night, I remember him trying to push himself on me. And that's all I remember, because I blacked out. And so I blame myself for that for years, because I blacked out. So I never knew what happened. When I woke up, my roommate was standing over me saying, "What happened to you? Did you do something with him?" And I was so embarrassed, because in my soul, I knew it. And as a woman, I knew it. He was gone. He done left me in the room. I remember I said, no, I jumped up, went to the bathroom. I just knew it. But I told her no. Later, she and I talked about it. And it wasn't until, this has probably been within the last 10 years, I was at a national training. And they were talking about military sexual trauma. And I'm sitting in there, and I had to get up and leave, because it was me, and all these feelings and things start just regurgitating. And I went in the hallway, and there was another lady who happened to be from Ohio, and who's in another county, and she's sitting in the hallway and she's crying. So, and I didn't know what was wrong with her. So later, I was talking to her. I called her about something work related, and I brought up I brought it up. And I told her why I went in the hallway. I said, I don't know what was going on with you, but I really couldn't. I wanted to console you, but I was having my own issues, so I couldn't do that. And I apologized. And I said, so I never checked on you for real when I saw you out there. And she said, Tamara, I was struggling with some stuff that has to do with my MST. And I said, so was I. And it was me who filed claims for people all the time and help people. It took somebody else to help me and tell me. And so I told her what happened to me. She said, you need to go talk to somebody. And I did. And I had been dealing with that for a long time and didn't realize what it was or why.
Well, your testimony will do good for our listeners.
Well, I hope so.
Because there are listeners out there that Herman and I have talked about PTSD and things that they needed to do, and Agent Orange and things that they needed to do, and they've done them. So your personal story will help many. Trust me. So when this is, the show is over and it's put on Facebook and YouTube's and all that thing, your story is going to be worldwide.
Okay.
So we hope, Miss Wilson, that you continue to be an advocate and continue to share for others to learn that there is hope, there
Yes.
is help. I'm a testimony to that. I can help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
so, you know, I'm sure it's we're on Facebook Live now.
Yes.
I can tell you that. We're on Facebook Live now. So
Mhm.
as a result of that, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, also, just to add to what Anthony said, we've been doing this over 5 years, going on 6 years, and not particularly MST, but we have had some listeners that have been just working on their claims. Whether I'm a Vietnam veteran, so whether it was Agent Orange or heart disease or PTSD, and they, as you navigate the VA system, I'm sure you're aware of all the roadblocks and all of the letters you get that the denial letters, and a lot of people let that they just put it down. And we'll have people that call in and say, after I put mine down for 20 years, and after listening to you guys, I got back in the system and got good results. So I think this will motivate some people
Oh, goodness gracious.
to actually get in the system and also get good results.
I mean, I was having chills. I was having chills listening to your story. A young 19-year-old female was totally under control of a drill sergeant kind of person. You know, even though you're in the advanced AIT, that person has power.
Yes.
Quite a bit of power, and can make decisions on your life in the military. Yeah. And you were, you know, a couple of years ago, I read a story about a commander in Vicenza, Italy, a full bird, maybe a one-star general that was relieved from command for sexual harassment. I've seen other stories of commanders, you know. Yeah, I used to always wonder, and maybe you can help me with this, and I'm being straightforward with you as a soldier. I often wondered as a young officer in the military, every time I would go to the command group for whatever briefing, it seemed as though the command went throughout the battalion or worked with the personnel officer to get what they considered the good-looking female to be in headquarters.
Yeah, it does seem like that.
You know, and they proliferated to the point that they gave these young females power. And the power was you had to go through that E5, E6 that they promoted to being sort of like an office manager who had more power than the secretary just about to get to the old man or to get to the XO. And these young ladies, I never saw them running PT. I never saw them in the gym. I didn't see them bivouacking.
They didn't have to.
They didn't have to, because they were selected by the command group for that whatever reason. And even as I continued in my career, I've had a true story, honest to God, true story of officers going on TDY, 7 and 8 of them, and they're having women to meet them on trips who were either civilians or military, saying that they were part of their duty. And I'm like, wait a minute, part of what duty? They don't need to be on that trip. They were playing a game.
Yeah.
They were literally playing a game. And until I had one of my staff to come back to tell me, said, sir, those are some wild trips. You really need to get involved with that.
Wow.
Really need to get involved. That's a true story.
Wow.
That was 1989. I can tell you, true story. So it happens all of the time. That that sexual harassment, sexual trauma, sexual intimidation, whatever adjective you want to put with it, description you want to put with it. It was all ugly.
Yeah. Can I say this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, if it can encourage somebody who may feel like I'll never win a claim like that, if I experienced any of that, it's possible to win a claim. Like I said, even for myself, I didn't report that to anybody. But what I did, and I didn't realize it until actually I sent for my medical records, which that's hit or miss. You may or may not get them, and it may take a long time, and it may not be everything. So being that I work where I worked, I filed a VA claim way before I filed the claim based on the MST. So I got my records from the VA. And I had a copy of my medical records when I left the military. So I was comparing the records and I was looking through them. And what I noticed is that after that day that I blacked out, and so it was and I didn't know the exact date, but I knew the time frame. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was like I was at sick call every other day, asking them to give me a pregnancy test or an HIV test. Why? I'm looking at that like, why? And then and I realized why. Because I didn't know what all this man had done to me, and I was afraid. And so those are things, although I never told anybody, never reported it, that helped my claim, because why would somebody be doing that? And then I went on and I had a buddy statement. So my roommate was able to write a letter to attest to the things that I was saying about him coming there, and even about her standing over me, asking me did anything, all that. And she had put in her letter that I actually didn't admit to her that I believe something actually happened until later. I had her buddy statement. Like I said, my medical records. And then when I did make it to my first duty station, like from that point on, when that happened, I was doing everything I could to get out of the military. The record showed it, where I was going and asking them to please just send me home. I went to a chaplain one time there was record that I went and asked if I could see somebody in mental health for personal, and it just said for personal reasons. Now they did send me to somebody, a private mental health person in Massachusetts, and I can't remember who that was, and I couldn't get the records, and the records weren't in my military records. I really can't. I went one time and I didn't go back because I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. I'm not going to a mental health person. But I had told another friend what happened, and she's the one that told me, ask them to send you to somebody off base. And I did. And we were at a base that most things were gone and it was closing. So they didn't hesitate to send me to a private doctor. I didn't have those records though, but it showed where I requested it. It showed where my PT stuff went down, and just all these different things were happening. So those were markers.
Right, those are markers. Yeah.
To show that I changed. And then my ex-husband was able to write a letter. My ex-husband and I believe my mom might have wrote a letter. Something showing that I wasn't the same person. I was different. And those things helped. I never had a police report. I never actually had a rape kit or any of that. And another thing I was afraid of, even years later of doing it, is, oh my gosh, he's going to know that I'm doing this. But you don't worry about that. If you're active duty, then yeah, they may have to do something about it with the person. If you're still active duty, they're active duty. But this is years later. He was a lot older, so he should have retired. I shouldn't say a lot older, but he was older, so he should have. That didn't matter. They weren't contacting that person. The VA was just the VA just acknowledged that I had some service-connected disabilities related to something that happened to me in the service. However, whatever goes on with his life, he'll have to deal with. I'll let God handle that part.
Well, I want to thank you very much, because what you just laid out to to everyone that's listening, that will be listening to us, that you can be successful filing the claim, and you can get good results. You just
Yeah.
have to know everything you said is great. I thank you for it.
Well, you know, one thing we got to say, Herman, this is a strong woman.
Thank
No
you.
doubt,
And you
no
know,
doubt
I
about
mean,
it.
for what you described to us and our listeners out there, of what you went through it, how I used to say, you got to go through it to get to it.
Yes.
You went through it to get to where you are now. You went on a journey. You went on a road trip.
Yes.
You know, you had to go through it to where you are. Look at you now. You're a positive, strong, smiling female with knowledge to share with others.
Yes.
This happened to me. It may have happened to you, but let me share my roadmap with you to encourage you to take the next step.
Yes.
That's the main thing what we're trying to do here. Larry X, if you're out there listening, we helped you with your PTSD, motivation-wise. Whoever else is out there, I am sure there's some females out there, or some family member that knew of a female that hadn't told her story, his story, that they can get some type of compensation.
Yes.
Because of those markers.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that impressed me with you, those markers.
Well, one thing I also would like to emphasize, just dealing with claims in general, is you mentioned two things that since I've been dealing with claims, and I've been dealing with them for 10 years now, is a lot of veterans don't utilize is the nexus letter and the buddy letter. You know, if they, and as you said earlier, a lot of times your records are not complete. So you submit those and you get a denial letter and you just admit defeat and leave it alone. But just what you just told us on your story is your journey and your story of life is you pursue all options and you don't quit and you get good results.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's so important. I was just sitting down here thinking again about your story, and I'm just going to call you a warrior. You're a warrior. You're a fighter, and we just want our listeners to know out there that you kind of exemplify our leader, the leader of this company. She has persevered, Miss Penny Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
She's come from a mustard seed to developing a network of individuals to come on as show hosts, to bring on people like you to tell a story. And Herman and I always give out that shameless plug to her and her vision.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because you're a strong woman.
And
well, for me, that's very, very, very hard. I mean, very heartening to me. I know my wife is a very strong woman. She might be petite, and you got to watch them 5'3" people. Them little folks, they're tough. They're little peeps. But she's
we got about 5 minutes, and
strong.
You can take all 5 of them if you would like to wrap it up. And you invited back. I'm going to ask you to come back. So
okay,
you're on the calendar.
Okay. So
in closing remarks, tell us what you want to.
I just say, if you're a veteran and you have any disabilities that you might have incurred or were aggravated during your military service, file a claim, as small as it may seem to you. Go see someone that can help you. Go to your nearest veteran service officer, advocates, anyone that you think can help you, and get a claim in and let the VA make the decision. Don't deny yourself. Let them deny you. And one thing about the VA, when they deny you, they're going to tell you why they're denying you. And it might be a little piece of information missing, but they're going to tell you why they're denying you, and work on that, because you deserve it. If you're entitled to those benefits, you need to get them. You need to apply for them and seek them. That's what I have for you.
I mean, you just said something that you need to say again. You just said something that was very, very strong, which is you earned those things. It's not a gift. You earned it.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You sacrificed.
Yeah. I get a lot of clients in here. It's like, oh, I don't need it. That's for somebody else. But if you don't get it, if you don't apply for those benefits, everything that's there for veterans, what happens is they budget, they put things, they fund these, they put things in these budgets. There's line items. And the less this money is used, then the next time they're not going to put as much in there. And so you have people like VA healthcare. Oh, I don't need that. I got my own and I'm not going to apply. At least apply to let them know that we have veterans out there seeking. I don't know what happened, but yeah, let them know that you got veterans out there seeking those benefits and needing them. And we need those, these VA benefits funded. We need money so that we can help our veterans, so that they can get health care, that they can get money to help them live and be able to take care of themselves, because, the things they went through may hinder their ways of life, or, so if you don't apply for the benefits, then.
Let me ask you one quick, sorry to interrupt you, one quick question. You have anything to say about COVID-19, the virus?
Be safe, wear your mask,
Okay.
wash your hands, listen, I don't judge anybody, to each his own. If you want to get a vaccine, get it. I'm going to get one. That's my personal thing, but do whatever you can to help this thing so we can get through this thing. That's all I'm saying. The VA is now, I know at Dayton, the Dayton VA hospital in Ohio, they have the vaccine.
Yeah, well, me and Anthony both have already been started. I was taking the first one, so
yes, yeah,
we're on our way.
Yeah.
Yes.
The VA in Atlanta is also giving the exam. The VA in Birmingham is giving the shot. I mean, so the VAs are doing it. Hey, for years, what did the military told us to do? Line up, show up, get a shot. You did.
Yeah.
So if you were going to Korea, you got 3 hepatitis shots you got to take, A, B, and C. You know what I mean? You got to take them. So
you got to take.
And the flu shot. So
yeah.
you gotta also take care of your family. Right now, I know of a family where a husband and wife are both positive for COVID, and they have a 7-year-old daughter. What do? You know what I mean? There are horror stories out there.
Yeah.
So, you gotta take care of yourself, wear the mask, clean your hands, like you said, social distance, and stay home. If you don't need to go anywhere, don't go anywhere.
Stay home. Come to because I have to, but outside of work, and occasionally I go to the store. Most times I order and have my groceries delivered just so I don't have to go in the store. But my husband and I have been trying to be as cautious as possible. We don't want company. We don't, no, we don't need visitors right now. We're just trying to get through this. And when this is all over, we're gonna have a big old family picnic. It's probably not gonna be the way it used to be, but whenever this is over.
Well, we're out of time. I want to thank you, and I already rated this program one of our best, and we will be asking you back.
Yeah.
Thank you
to all our listeners. Have a safe weekend, and Veterans Today will be back in 2 weeks. Herman Anderson and Anthony Aiken.
Yep, we'll be back.
Thank you.
So thank Ms. Wilson. Great information, great results. Thank you
very much.